In the Winning Webinar Formula course, I'm going to show you a painless and fast way to quickly build, launch, and scale a webinar in your business so you can implement leveraged selling one-to-many around the clock. As always, we want to zoom out and ensure that we understand where webinars fall in your funnel and marketing plan. So as we look at the Fletcher Method framework here, we see that webinars are in the convert phase of the funnel section, meaning once we've used a highly effective, attractive lead magnet to educate them and solve one of their problems in minutes, then on the Authority Amplifier thank you page, we engage them. We built a relationship with them. We've given them context and shown them the forest through the trees. And now one of our conversion events are webinars. That's what we're going to cover in this course. Now, depending on what kind of business you have, you might have a different conversion event. You might get on a sales call with somebody, a prospect come into your physical office, you might sell a product online. But if you're selling a product anywhere from $500 to a couple $1,000s, webinars are the cat's meow when it comes to generating conversions around the clock. This is the Winning Webinar Funnel, and it follows my one-page funnel framework, but it's adapted to webinars. So I'm going to go through step-by-step all the pages you need to set up, how and why, all the email sequences, all the ads. So just hang tight and follow the process step-by-step. Again, there are done-for-you templates. If you follow the process, you simply can't go wrong. Let's look at why webinars matter, why they're so effective and so challenging, and why they could be very, very important, if not a game changer for your business. Webinars allow us to go from selling to one, where our calendar might be full of unqualified prospects, and we have to fill up all of our time just to speak with them. Even if we have a sales team, it's not the most effective way to scale, to teaching too many, where we can nurture and reach and engage and convert an audience, and they are there on a webinar because they're ready to learn. They understand that attending your webinar is the most important thing they should be doing right now in their life or business. Another reason why webinars matter is because most folks find them extremely technical and time-consuming. There's a good reason why a lot of business owners don't have webinars set up, and it's because they don't know how to do it. There's a ton of slides. They feel like it's overwhelming. They don't have a framework or an outline, and it sounds like a big undertaking to build a webinar. So I'm going to show you how to go from technical and time-consuming to simple steps. Literally, I cannot underscore enough that I'm going to give you a template for your webinar. I'm going to literally show you what to say on every slide and why. I'm going to show you how to find the right messaging and title for your webinar, how to set up ads and emails. So just go through the training once again and you will land the plane and have a highly effective, high converting webinar in place in no time. Most webinars are totally boring. Let's face it. They're full of a couple things. Have you ever seen a webinar full of bullet points? Yes. White backgrounds and boring text and sales pitches. They'll educate you for 5 minutes and sell you for 55 minutes. That's not what we're going to do here. We're going to go from totally boring to completely breathtaking, where not only the message, but the graphics, the image, the tone, the pace, the content is going to captivate your audience. If you're talented and you have expertise and you believe in what you're selling, it's incumbent upon you to sell that with passion, to show them the path, to finally eliminate the confusion and overwhelm of your customers and give them a clear path from point A to point B, and then simply say, hey, if you want more help from me, if you liked what you've learned right now and you want to go deep and let me help you get this done, then you can work with me. So it takes away all the stress and all the pressure of selling. The bottom line is webinars can take you from making small change where you're selling one-to-one to life-changing, like webinars have been for me and many of my students, where you know with predictability that you know your numbers, you know what you can pay to get somebody to register for a webinar, you know how many people will show up, and you know roughly with certainty how many people will convert. And once you've done a couple webinars, it's amazing that you can say, hey, I know I'll spend $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7 on Facebook ads to get somebody to register because I know 30 or 40% will show up, and I know how many will actually pay up and sign up. Once you know those numbers, you can scale limitlessly. You can spend as much as you want on advertising, and that's why webinars can be life-changing if you follow this formula. I like to think about webinars and other conversion events as an automated army of sales reps. That's what the internet and digital marketing allows us to do. It allows us to leverage our expertise. So if I'm sleeping, I'm hanging out with my family, I'm building content, I'm coaching my clients, people can be going through my content and consuming webinars, both live and automated, and understanding my message. People around the world that need my products or services, and the same is true for you. Let's dig into the 5 core steps required to build a winning webinar. The first step is a plan in advance. I know. If you're like me, you're really excited about building your webinar and starting to do advertising. But Sun Tzu once said, If you know your enemy, you will win half your battles. If you know yourself, you will win half your battles. But if you know both, you'll win 100%. Now, your prospects and target audience are obviously not your enemy, but they're distracted, they're confused, and there's a great chance that they sign up for webinars all the time, and yours has to stand out quickly and educate them and deliver the promise so they take the next step and work with you. So we have a planner so you can fill out a form and just understand what your audience needs to think and feel and do before you even put together your webinar. Step 2 is to craft your pitch. I'm going to show you exactly how to set up slide by slide every single piece of your webinar, not only with a framework, but a template. I'm literally going to give you a slide template so you can craft your pitch using my proven format and framework. So once you've done the recon and you know exactly why your customer should show up and what they should think and do, and you've crafted your pitch and you've put together the webinar itself, then you need to frame the funnel. You need to zoom out and say, okay, what steps do people need to go through from first opting in or signing up from a webinar via email to actually showing up and being excited and staying on board? And then how do you close out? How do you nurture people and show them that you have social proof and they should know you and like you and trust you, and actually ultimately sign up for your products and programs? So we're going to look at the whole webinar funnel, including the messages, the email, and the ads. I'm going to show you, no joke, what to put in every email before, during, and after the webinar, and every ad so you can retarget people. People who sign up but don't show up but don't pay up. You're going to have a specific formula and even swipe files and templates to get that done in your business so you can deliver the message quickly. And the 5th step is to measure and scale. This is what it's all about. Think about this. You just have to get proof of concept in place. You have to prove what you can pay for people to sign up, what percentage will show up, and ultimately pay up. So once you know those numbers, you can reverse engineer a limitless ad budget by measuring and scaling, and that's how you create a winning webinar. As always, this course will have time for many frameworks because I'm going to show you everything you need to know about webinars. There's a framework, as I said, to plan in advance, then to craft your pitch, to lay out slide by slide every single step of your webinar so you know exactly what to say and do in every slide. And I'm even going to give you a slide template for the webinar itself in Keynote and PowerPoint format. All you have to do is add the images, the branding, and the speaker's notes, and you're good to go. There's a complete funnel framework, so you're going to know the exact pages, ads, and emails to set up, how long the steps should be in between webinars, how to get more people to actually show up, and everything in between. I'm going to show you how to lay out, using my proprietary 5P email framework, exactly what to say in every email leading up to, during, and after the webinar, and the ads using my retargeting roadmap training. So it's pretty much everything you need to do, including scaling. How you're going to measure every step of your funnel so you know what the value is. You know, if you get $1,000 per sale, then what is the average value per attendee and registrant? All we have to do is pay less than the value and we're good to go, right? So what is your homework? All you need to do is follow the step-by-step training, dig into the winning webinar framework training. I really want to see you be successful. That's the winning webinar formula. Enjoy the training. Okay, welcome back to the winning webinar formula. This module is all about planning in advance. It's like having a crystal ball into your future. Imagine when you go and sit down to do your webinar to actually deliver the content, if you know exactly why customers don't buy, what friction they have, what they need to believe about themselves and you and your product in advance, then you're going to resist all that buying friction and be way more likely to close a higher percentage of your attendees in the webinar. So this is about doing your recon up front. I have to give a huge hat tip to one of my mentors and friends now, Frank Kern. I went through his Ultimate Webinar Blueprint course. I was pretty new at webinars. Actually, I had never done a webinar at the time. This is obviously a few years ago. And I had an agency, a done-for-you agency serving the legal niche. And I literally just followed his course and delivered a webinar and put that into an evergreen webinar on Facebook and built a 7-figure business around it. And one of the biggest takeaways was what he called his recon, the research he did before the webinar. So I'm going to cover my version here. I've since learned a lot and added it and changed it and taken a ton of other courses and obviously generated a lot of revenue from webinars. So I think you're really going to like this. So let's dig right into the pre-webinar planning framework. So let's look here at the pre-webinar planner framework. It's very simple, but it's really powerful as well. We want to ensure that you have a crystal clear understanding of your audience's goals, frustrations, objections, and mindset. In other words, to echo the late and great Gary Halbert, I have one of his books right in front of me right now, you need to enter the conversation that's already happening in your prospect's mind. what resistance comes up in their mind, why don't they buy, what might they misunderstand about you or the product, or their ability to actually use what you're going to teach them and get things done. So this framework's going to help you do that. The first thing we want to lay out is just simply the title. You want to have a metric and a timeline. What I mean by that is, if you look at 8-Minute Abs and you look at a lot of the most famous products, like 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, if we can put a metric and or ideally a timeline in the title, then there's no question about the promise and what it delivers. Does that make sense? So when you're putting together your signature solution, I often say, can you make it relevant to the avatar? Can you have the metric and timeline in the title? So instead of saying, the business breakthrough, if you can say the law firm lead generation blueprint, how to generate 10 leads in 30 days without spending money in advertising, right? Or the carb-free diet, how to lose 20 pounds of stubborn fat in the next, two months without giving up carbs or foods you love. Now, if the title can have the metric and timeline built in, you're way down the path before they even show up or sign up for the webinar. They're saying, hey, I know it applies to me. I know what I can learn from it. Let's sign up, right? And let's actually show up. The product description and pricing, the reason I put the price here as guidelines is because a lot of people make the mistake of doing a webinar and charging, $299 for their product. Or on the other side, $5,000. Now let me speak to both of those ends of the spectrum. On the low end of the spectrum, the economics just don't work out. Think about if you pay, and then we're going to talk later in this course about actually the metrics required, how to track and scale your webinar, so don't worry about that now. But just know from tons of experience from myself and virtually all the other kind of people that are running webinars successfully, that if you run a $200 or $300 product, the economics won't work. Because if you're going to spend $3, $5, $6 to get someone to register, and these days 20, 30, 40% of them actually show up, how many people see the offer, and if you get a 5, 10, 20% conversion rate, the numbers won't work out if you're running a webinar to cold traffic. Even if you have a big list, the way you're going to scale your business is running a webinar to new people. So just make sure you're in this price range. The reason why I cap it at $2,000 in the high end, unless you're very, very advanced, I believe you have to talk to a customer to sell something for more than $2,000. It only makes sense because that's really the price point where you're going to have to be one heck of a salesperson for someone to opt in for a live or evergreen webinar and spend $10,000. So if you have an agency or done-for-you service, if you're a coach, this is where you'd use the webinar to drive somebody to a sales call, a quick strategy call. We call that a fast-track strategy session, to actually talk to a human being, come into your office or get on the phone with a sales rep. So this is the bandwidth for webinar pricing. Take it or leave it. I think it's going to help you really start off on the right foot. And then in these two basic columns, I have the top friction. What are the things that might cause people not to buy? And what's your solution going to be in advance? So you can kind of think about this and bake this into your content and your delivery and your pitch. The first is frustrations and goals. If you go back and do all of your avatar frameworks, if you go and look at those, you have to have a currency that matters. We use a currency calculator to say, look, there's a lot of things your audience wants to improve about their lives or their business, but what's the main one you're going to cover on this webinar? Is it leads? Is it pay, compensation, profitability? What is the one currency that the title of your webinar and the content should address? And what are their frustrations? What are you going to move them away from? The next question is, how can you quantify the return on investment for them specifically? So you need real case studies and results. This eliminates risk in the mind of your audience. You got to show them, not just tell them. So if you don't have the results of yourself that you can actually demonstrate for them, or those are your clients, you might want to just go work with one client for free or go get some results yourself. So no marketing works if you're not good at what you do and you've never done it before. The power of webinars should not be used to convince people to get an outcome or a byproduct that you've never actually seen before. It's not a good idea. The next is, what do they need to believe about you? That's a weird question, but there's a lot of webinars. And one thing about internet marketing that's different than face-to-face interaction is they don't know you. They just see an ad, they opt in, they hear your voice for a bit, and you're going to try to rapidly take them from, seeing you as a stranger with skepticism, with their kind of buying filters on, to someone that's going to spend, what do we say, $500 to $2,000. So they have to know that you're trusted, knowledgeable, and you have a specific plan. That's why the Fletcher method is so different, and hopefully for you more effective than all the other stuff out there, because we go step by step. We say, who's your target audience? You come up with a signature solution that gets them a measurable result with a currency, and you're going to show them that plan. In your webinar, you're going to show them the path from point A to point B, not just tell them. Really important. The next question is, what do they need to believe about the product? This is important. They have to understand that they can actually get results. If I look at a training, for the world-class CrossFit athletes or downhill skiers, I can say, yeah, that looks really cool. What a great training program. Can I actually do that at my age, with my flexibility, with my health, with my limited time, with my poor mindset, lazy attitude? Probably not. So it has to actually be clear, proven, easy to follow, and different. Clear because you're going to show them exactly step by step what to do in the webinar. And then when they work with you, you're going to help them get the how. Big distinction. Proven because you have results. Easy to follow because you're saying, look, it's literally step by step, fill in the blanks, done for you templates. All you have to do is show up. You have to do the work, but it's easy to follow as long as you stay on track. And different. There's so many competitors out there now. Anybody can make a nice looking website or put together a webinar. You have to show them why this is different. What do they need to believe about themselves? That they can actually get results, and they're motivated now. This is the time. Now this is the number one thing they should actually be doing in their lives or their business. But they have to believe that they can do it. So you're not only going to empower them with a clear step-by-step strategy, you have to motivate them as well. And lastly, what are their top objections? Bottom line, why don't they buy? If you go ask your last 10 customers, if you have them, or customers of your competitors, or even do a survey to find out how to design your new product if you have one, why don't they buy other products? Why aren't they buying your product? It's usually they don't see the value. Let's just be honest. Either they don't have the money because you're targeting the wrong people and they're far from qualified, or they don't really think you have a clear plan and you didn't sell it well enough. Let's be very, very honest. If you follow this step-by-step program, I'm going to give you the highest likelihood of selling because you're going to know what to put on every slide of your webinar, how to deliver it. But at the end of the day, you are convincing somebody to buy something. I'm going to take away all the stress and awkwardness and ugliness of selling because it's just going to be like, hey, here's exactly what you need to do. And if you want me to help you get there, here's how I can help. But they still have to, through the course of your webinar, be compelled and convinced. And you have to overcome their objections. So you need to think about, why didn't your last customers buy? Here's a really powerful exercise I've been doing recently. A lot of people do it in their funnels. Think about this. After you present somebody with an offer, whether it's on a webinar or a sales call or any other format, why not put a point in your funnel, maybe after 10 days, for all the people who don't buy, and say, hey, just fill this out. I'll give you a free gift certificate for Starbucks, a free XYZ, or just I appreciate your time if you can give us some feedback because you're the type of customer we want. Why didn't you sign up right now? And I did that. I have hundreds of responses from the last webinar I did, and they would say things, like I was surprised. I didn't think it applied to local businesses. I thought it was just like this other program. Even I had technical issues. I couldn't hear the webinar. So if every time you do any kind of marketing, if you get feedback and you could reiterate and improve the process on the front end, now you're cooking with gas. All the money you spend on leads, you should milk for every ounce of value. And if you take all the people that don't buy, those are great folks to say, hey, why didn't you buy? You're going to realize you're targeting the wrong people. You're not convincing people. There's a main distinction you put forth in your webinar or any other reason. So one of the most powerful things you should do is ask your current clients if you have them, or put a mechanism in your funnel to find out why people aren't buying. So that is the pre-webinar planner. It's very important. Don't skip this step. Fill it out before you do your webinar. The next steps you're really going to dig, I believe. We're going to break down step by step the exact template for your webinar. I'm even going to give you a slide template that you can use and fill in the blanks. Then we're going to get into the funnel and the copy and the ads and the metrics and everything in between. Now, just go ahead and fill out the pre-webinar worksheet, and we'll see you in the next training. Welcome back to the winning webinar formula. This module is called Craft Your Pitch, and it's a very important and hopefully cool one because I'm going to show you the anatomy of a perfect webinar. I'm going to show you slide by slide how you can build a high converting, aka winning webinar in no time flat. So let's go through the winning webinar template, the slide by slide framework for a high converting webinar. Here you can see my winning webinar template. It's the ultimate framework for an extremely engaging and effective webinar. Literally, if you follow this format, you can expect conversion rates of 10 to 30% for live webinars. For automated webinars, they're a little bit lower than that typically. We'll cover that in forthcoming training. But these are the 6 main phases to captivate, educate, and motivate your audience to take action. Each bullet can represent a slide in your webinar. So as I go through this, think of each of these as a slide. And in the next training, I'm literally going to give you those slides in a template so you can just add images and customize it to your branding. How cool is that? So the first thing you'll notice is there are 6 components of a winning webinar, and they're broken into time slots. It's really important that we spend most of our time actually teaching people, actually showing them how to get results and helping them. But we also have to frame the whole conversation so they have context. And we have to actually go from showing them what to do to showing them how to do it, how they can get results, how we can help them, or else they're not going to buy anything. No matter how good you teach them, you actually have to show them how you can help them get results. A lot of people make the mistake of teaching on one topic, going too deep and showing how in a webinar. And the problem is it doesn't give them context. So the reason we have a signature solution in the Fletcher method is so we can give them context. We can say, here's the 3 main steps you need to take and what you need to do. And then when we make an offer to them, it's very comfortable. We just say, and here's how I can help you if you want. Okay, let's start with the frame section. In just 5 minutes, we're going to grab their attention, show them a specific promise with a currency with a metric and a timeline, why they should trust you, why this is different, in other words, why they should care, and why it's relevant to them, like they have come to the right place, period. The first step, we're going to show them a promise of a measurable outcome. Exactly what they're going to learn during this brief 50-minute period, 50 or 60-minute period, right? Then we're going to show them why this is different. We're going to disrupt conventional thinking. Right away, we have to say, look, you've probably been to 1,000,001 webinars that cover this topic. This is way different for this reason. Then we're going to answer right away the thought in their head. Remember, why do people leave webinars? They're distracted. They have their finger on the back button. They're thinking all the time, is this for me? Is this for me? You want to say, look, if you are this is for you, period. Call them out. This is who it's for, who it's not for. The 3 main problems or the core struggles your avatar is facing with the currency or solution you provide. If you're like most bankruptcy attorneys, you're struggling with this, and this when it comes to generating clients, right? Then you're going to talk about, well, guess what? Myself or my client actually struggle with the same exact thing. I was just like you, and I discovered something that's counterintuitive, a different way to look at it, a breakthrough simple strategy where I got these results. So I made a discovery. I'm going to share that with you. It's that simple. Then you ask for their biggest frustration. You want to have interactivity baked in your webinar. You want to say, but just tell me so I can make sure this is for you. What's your biggest struggle right now? Get interaction early in the webinar, and most importantly, have a stay or stick strategy. Offer them something for staying until the end so they stay honest and don't leave. Then in the teach module, this is where we want to spend most of our time. We want to show them what to do, but not how. This is very important. A lot of people that have come to the Fletcher method have done webinars in the past, said, hey, I did an hour and a half webinar on how to do this. And I showed them everything they need to do. Why aren't they buying? Because instead of giving them context and showing them the 3 steps they need to follow to get to the promised land, to get to the outcome that they want with you, you went too deep on one step, so they don't have any context. They don't know that there's actually a path. And they say, oh, cool, thanks. You just taught me something. I'll see you later, never to return. So in the teach section, this is where we spend most of our time. There's 3 core sections in the teach section. So you're going to do the following 3 times. So here are the teach bullets. Number 1, promise a measurable outcome. This is different than the promise for your webinar. Your whole webinar has a promise. I'm going to take you from here to here. How to generate 100 leads in the next 90 days without spending money on ads. Well, there's 3 steps to do that. Each one of those steps has a promise. It's important to point out that you should have a signature solution in place right now. Your kind of trademark framework for taking your clients from point A to point B. Guess what? Each one of those 3 steps in your signature solution is one of these 3 steps in your webinar. How cool is that? You're going to cover the what during your webinar. Look, foundation funnel, floodgates, mindset, opportunity, reinforcement. Whatever your 3 steps are, this is what you're going to cover. I promise I'm going to show you how to do this to that. How to get from A to B. 3 main obstacles they face with that piece of content. Look, when it comes to generating a lead magnet, for example, say this is one of my steps. Most people struggle because they're boring, they take a long time to create, and they don't advance the sale. I actually have a metaphor where you can turn this into an automated army of leads around the clock. So the transformation, you're going to show them a framework or an image. Don't just tell them. When you teach people, give them context. Show them in your signature solution where you are and how this works. Create a framework or show them how to do it. Now, if you haven't gone through the Content Crusher training here in the Fletcher Method, that's going to help you. Don't worry about that right now. It's going to show you once it's time to create these slides and the content itself, how to create world-class IP out of your ideas. So the Content Crusher is a good supplement to this. It'll really help you. Anyway, then after that, give them the steps. So here's the big picture. The model gives them kind of context. The steps break down what they need to do to get results. Then we want to show proof, real results. Here's a screenshot of my Facebook ads. Here's me on the scale weighing way less. Here's one of my clients who sold their house in 2 days, whatever, right? Real proof or it doesn't matter. And then a decision. This sounds silly, but it's really powerful. You make them understand that, hey, the way they're doing it now is not working. Make them commit, a micro commitment to saying, do you want to do it the old way with a lot of frustration and overwhelm and not getting results and spinning your wheels, or this new way? You're making them kind of conditionally close throughout the whole webinar. Yeah, I want to do this. Yes, that makes more sense. So they're already committing during the webinar. Then you want to ask, what's your biggest takeaway? Interactivity, once again, really powerful, right? Then in the third section, we shift from teaching to selling in a very comfortable way. We just make a natural transition and saying, hey, I just showed you what to do. So again, let me just back up a little bit and say in the teaching module, there are 3 sections. That's why it says 3X. So I go through 3 main steps, your signature solution, what. You know, I showed you exactly what you need to do to get results, but maybe if you're not that advanced and you want to know how, if you want to get more help from me, let me just show you, if you're interested, how I can help you get results. It's a very comfortable way to transition from teaching to selling. Hopefully that makes sense. It's really cool. It's not pressure or sleazy selling. So look, I showed you what to do. If you want to learn how I can help you get there, let me show you. So the first thing we want to do is review the 3 main problems, from and to. So look, in this webinar, I showed you how. I showed you how to get from here to here, how to go from here to here, here to here. Again, if it's a Fletcher method, I would say I showed you the foundation, how to go from bland to specific in your marketing, how to go from a leaky bucket to an airtight container with your funnel, and how to go from a slot machine to an ATM in your traffic. Now I want to show you how I can help you get those results. So the question you want to ask them is, you might be asking yourself, well, that sounds great, but how can you actually get this done? How can you get 20 new clients in the next 90 days? You just ask them the question, well, how are you going to get these results in your life and your business? You have 2 options, do it yourself, or they can have your help. That's it. So you're going to deliver your solution or program. You say, I have a program. I can show you how it works right now. It's very simple. It's geared to do one thing, help you generate X and Y amount of time, period. Let me show you how it works. So you want to talk about who it's not for. The reason we do this is because you want to filter your clients out. You don't want to sit here and say, everybody can sign up. It's for people that are lazy, people that cancel early, people that aren't motivated, people that aren't knowledgeable enough. You want to say, look, I have a program. It's not for everyone. It works for, let's just say, consultants who already have 10K and a good reputation, 10K in revenue, good reputation. This works for athletes who are already on a college team. You want to think about your ideal client, and it's really going to make it more resonant to them, and you want to repel the people that aren't a good fit. So you want to literally ask, hey, if it's cool with you, I'd like to show those of you that are interested how I can help. If you're not interested, you can leave the webinar or the session right now. I'm going to spend a few minutes walking you through this program so I can show you how I can help you. It's a very comfortable way to transition. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense. Now it's time to sell. Now I say here, you need to sell your product. Don't shy away from this simple truth. If you're passionate about the results, it's your role to motivate them to make a change. Think about this for a minute. It sounds silly, but what if you had a whole cup full of water that was from the fountain of youth that anybody could drink and stay young forever or curing disease? How passionate would you be about getting your family to drink that? So if you have an amazing product that you've put your passion and life's work into, and you're really stoked about how transformative it can be in the lives of your clients, it's your job to convince them. I hate to tell you, but it's a good thing to celebrate that you can really help them change their lives. You really want to be passionate, and your passion is going to come through in the webinar. So you're going to literally give them a product tour and walk them through what the features are you've put together and why it matters for them. Now, here's how I want you to do that. As you show them whatever it is, a membership site, a consulting program, a package, a product, you're going to say, here's what it does, but more importantly, why it matters to you. And the way I like to teach that is just to ensure that you can answer the question so you can. It has 4 wheels so you can roll down the road without falling into a ditch. It has an extra, micro-dense foam cushion so you can work for 9 hours without any back pain. It has, we help you get go through step-by-step coaching and mentoring at a fraction of the cost so you can stay on track and get the results you're looking for without X, right? So you can is the big indicator that you're doing this right, that you're not just doing features, but not only benefits, but the transformation, why it matters to them. Then we want to do what's called a value stack. It's simple. You want to list the real value, not the BS internet marketing value. You're not going to say this is worth $10,500,000. You want to say, look, I've put together a program, so if you're passionate, the price won't be an issue. Normally, if I just did one-on-one coaching or consulting, it'd be this much. Normally, if I just sold these products separately, it'd be this. But you're bundling things together, showing the real value. So in one slide, and when I show you the next training, the actual slide template, I actually go through slide by slide and kind of an itemized list. Look, it's $10,500 in value. I'm selling it today for $1,500, so anyone who's passionate can get results. You have to tell them why, right? So you stack the value. The normal price, here's the normal price that's on my website. You should have the normal prices published. You should give a special to people on the webinar. It's very important, and not a 10 or 20% special. A lot of people say, on the webinar, you can get 10% off. No one cares about that. You have to have the normal prices that probably no one buys on your website unless they just come to you from organic traffic. And you want to reward the people that took time to attend and spend an hour with you. They're more educated. They're more likely to stick. They're more likely to get results. They're more likely to be great customers. So give them a webinar-only price. Have price juxtaposition. Show them the price on your website and say, on the webinar right now, it's going to be 30 to 50% off that. A significant discount, not a small discount. And give them a bonus to buy now, not fake scarcity. People will resent that, and you'll resent that in yourself. Don't say, for the first 10 people, if there's not really a limited availability, don't do that. But give a bonus. Say, for the first 10 people that sign up today on the webinar, I'm also going to give you a one-on-one call. I'm going to give you this bonus training. I'm going to give you an extra month. So use urgency, not fake scarcity, right? We want to have a call to action that appeals to their logic with an ROI analysis. In other words, we want to say, this is why you should buy this. This is why, if you're the perfect client for this, it should make sense. Think about the ROI. What would it take for you to get 10 times ROI? My rule when I offer any product is I expect them to get 10 to 100 times ROI. It doesn't take much. If you charge them $500 or $1,000, and over the course of not only a month or a year or a lifetime, are they going to get one more client, 10 more clients over their lifetime using what you have to offer? But break it down. So really reverse engineer. It removes the risk to say, what's the worst case scenario? You get one new client over the next year and this pays for itself. Then I do a guarantee with strong risk reversal. It's really important to stand behind your product and say, look, if you think this is a good fit for you, try it out for 30 days, have all the content, all the coaching, everything I offer, the product, whatever you offer, obviously, and say, look, if you're not happy, just click one button and say you want a full refund, no questions asked. The risk is on me. I want you to get results, and I'm not going to have risk be an issue. I'll take all the risk. Then I do another call to action where I future pace, and I talk about what's going to happen if they don't act. And it's really important. This is really, really psychologically significant because you want to say, look, when you came here, you're struggling with X, Y, and Z. If you don't sign up for this, obviously, if you think it's a good fit and you can get results, if now is not the time, realistically, where will you be in 90 days or a year? And if this isn't the good program for you, I'm not going to force you to buy it. Great. But if you think it's the right program, why not now? Why not you? Why not now? Take advantage now, or else think about what are you going to do differently that you weren't doing before the webinar that's going to get you a different result in the future, right? You want to appeal to the actual measurable result where they're going to be in a future pace format. In the show section, this is really cool. We welcome aboard new clients with a bang. This is kind of like a dog and pony. This is where we celebrate the people that are coming on board, and we also create a little bit of fear of loss for people that don't come on board. If this is psychological NLP and it's not comfortable for you, that's fine, but I think it's really significant if you're proud of your products or programs to say, look, here's what's going to happen in 5 minutes after you sign up. We're going to onboard new clients with a bang, show them the awesomeness that awaits, and those on the fence, why they shouldn't miss out. I've put together a program that should be a no-brainer. If you're a right fit for this, it should be a no-brainer. So I'm going to show them exactly what happens. Look, as soon as you sign up, you're going to get instant access to live coaching webinars, all this training, a bonus. We're going to ship something to your house. Whatever happens with your products, obviously, you're going to congratulate individuals by name. this was a big transformation for me to say, welcome Sally, Sarah, Julie, Jessica, Bill. Why are you signing up? I'm glad to have you. Tell me why you signed up. You could even unmute people in the webinar. A guy, Brett Gregory, a friend of mine here, does that. It's pretty cool. Says, hey, Julie, you just signed up. Tell me what's your business and what made you sign up today. And you're kind of making it real and human. These are real people. These aren't robots. They're trusting you with their time and their money. You want to really build a relationship with them and show others that this is the real deal. You do a tour of the product or the process. So show them exactly what's going to happen. Let them see inside. If you like what you have, show them if you have a done-for-you service, show them exactly how it works, what they're going to get access to, client results, testimonials, resell the value. People are still in the webinar that haven't bought because they're on the fence. And you want to just resell how clear and simple your product or program is. You want to show them that it's not going to take a long time. Show them their first win. Say, look, my goal for you within the first 24 hours is to have your lead magnet outlined. In the first 2 weeks, you should already be off the couch and starting to walk around the block or running a 5K, right? Show them that little incremental win is right around the corner if they sign up. Think about martial arts. They give people a little stripe on their white belt in like 2 weeks. If they had to wait 10 years for a black belt, nobody would ever go to karate class. You have to have those little baby steps. Show them the first win is just around the corner. Reiterate proof. Here in my community and in my product, here's my portfolio. These are just some of the examples of real people who signed up just like you. 6 months ago, this gal signed up. Here's what she is now. Cool, right? Now, we're going to ask. This is often where you're going to get the most sales. Restate the top objections as questions. So remember back in the pre-webinar kind of recon framework or template when you thought about what they need to think about themselves, the product, and me, and what objections do they have. So if someone's objections would be, this doesn't work for local businesses, or how does this take too much time? Those are the questions I want to reframe. So when someone asks me, how long does this take? You want to say, a lot of people often ask, does this take a lot of my time? But we have Jimmy here who launched their X, Y, and Z in just 2 weeks, right? So you want to really orchestrate the Q&A into overcoming objections. Now, here's the deal. I want to start with objections that are relevant to them and achievable. I want to reiterate that this is for them and they can actually get results. Those that are on the fence, I want to use this time to address their main concerns. I want to restate the offer and that there's no risk on them. I want to just restate, maybe I'm going to have the slide up here with the offer or the call to action and the urgency. Remember, if you're one of the first 10 people, you get the bonus, right? I want to remind them of the alternatives. If you think if I'm the right solution for you and you think this is the right program, then the alternative is to follow this program or do what you've been doing before, and you're going to get the results you've always received before, you've experienced before. So challenge them. Be a leader, be the authority. Challenge them to make a change. Call them to the mat. Say, just tell me why, right? So the whole webinar should be 50 to 60 minutes. If you look here, the breakdown's about 60 minutes. And the first couple of webinars, when you practice this, you're literally going to time yourself. It sounds silly, but time 5 minutes to frame, 30 minutes to teach. So that's 3 blocks of 10 minutes. Each one of those blocks is a step in your signature solution. Make sure in 5 minutes with a lot of energy, you shift from teaching to selling. You pitch them for 10 minutes, not overkill. Don't have a pitch fest webinar. Just cover who it's for, why it matters, how it works, what the price is, that there's no risk. And the only risk for them is not taking action and being where they've always been. Show them, not just tell them, show them inside, wow them with what you're proud of, the results, the product itself, and then ask questions. Now, sometimes I'll stay on for 30 minutes after the webinar. There's no harm in asking questions. Most people that ask questions are the most engaged and they're going to buy. So I'll talk to you later, with you later in this course about if you have an automated webinar, how you can have someone in your team or a VA even look for the most engaged people and answer their questions even during an automated webinar or after the webinar. They can engage all the people that are asking questions. It's really cool to have a two-way street here in a conversation. Sometimes what Frank Kern taught me was you can run a video of the webinar, then show up live at the end to answer questions. Really powerful. Okay, so the next step is that I'm really excited about. First of all, download this framework if you haven't already. Take a look at it. Really start to map out your webinar, because in the next training, I'm going to walk you through slide by slide a template I have for you in both Keynote for Mac or PowerPoint for PC. So you can literally just change the images, messages, and branding and have a webinar in no time. Enjoy. Welcome back to the winning webinar formula. In this section, we're still talking about crafting your pitch. So in the last training, we looked at the winning webinar template, the 6 core elements of every winning high converting webinar. And now I'm going to walk you through a slide by slide swipe file or template that you can use. I literally want you to use this so you can build your webinar in no time flat. Okay, so here I have the template open. You have access to this in Keynote if you're a Mac user, or in PowerPoint if you're one of the unfortunate PC folks. Just kidding. So here's the template. Let me walk you through it. I'm not going to go into detail because we did that in the last training. I just want you to make sure you understand exactly how to use this to build your webinar quickly. So we're going to frame. The first section we said was frame. Why should they stay? Why should they care? Why does this matter? We're going to promise them a measurable result with a currency and a timeline, show them why it's different, why it's relevant to them. We're going to address the 3 main problems the avatar has with whatever currency you're talking about. So if you're in the lead generation business, what are the 3 main problems that bankruptcy attorneys have with generating leads online? You're going to name them so they know what's relevant to them and their actual problems that came from your avatar homework. Your story, where you started or one of your clients started and the struggle you had, what you discovered, and why this is different, unique, and easy. Ask them their biggest frustration, and then have a strategy for them to stay or stick. And then we go into the teach modules. Now there's 3 of these. So if your signature solution has 3 main steps, which it should, you're going to teach them what to do, the 3 steps they should be taking, not how. That would take hours or days because that's what your services, your programs, your products do, is show them every detail how to get there. This is about what? So we have a title for the first step. Now we talk about the main frustrations people have, your avatar has, with that first step. So if my first step is the foundation, most business owners struggle with finding the right customer, nailing down their message, and having an offer that makes sense. And I'm going to take you from struggling to thriving in this training, right? I'm going to show you how to get from A to point B. There's always a transformation. Then I talk about the model, a visual representation of how it works, the steps they should take. You tell them what they should do, not how, because again, that would take too long. Proof, real results, a decision. Do you want to do it the way you're doing it now and struggling, or with this new process? Get them to commit. Interaction, right? Ask them, does this make sense? Are you on board? Do you see how this applies to your life or your business, period, right? So there's 3 of those. I want to emphasize, let me go back here. In these teach sections, these modules, there are going to be 3 of those. So you just repeat these. You could literally copy and paste this. I just didn't want to make the template unruly and huge for no reason. Then we talk about a shift from teaching to selling, from what to how. We cover the 3 main shifts we taught them about, from point A to point B, for the 3 levels of your signature system. We talked about how to go from here to here, here to here, and here to here. Then we talk about how are you going to get these results in your life or your business. Well, there's 2 options, the slow, hard, technical, frustrating, or quick, easy, simple, rewarding. And I'm going to show you how I can help you get results if you'd like. I exposed what to do. Now I'm going to show you how. This is only for X, Y, and Z, not A, B, or C. Let me show you how. Does that sound good? They say yes. Then I sell. It's a real word. Don't be afraid. If you love what you do, if you're passionate, let's convince them. Show them a tour of what they get. This is not the inside behind the scenes tour that we're going to cover in the next section. This is just, here's exactly what I put together and why it solves all your needs, why it's a solution for your needs. Stack the value. What is the real value itemized of everything you offer? What would that normal price be? And what's the normal price on your site or in your normal pricing? What's the webinar only price? What reward can you give them of 30 to 50% off for taking advantage today? And why should they take advantage now? Not with false scarcity, but with a discount or a bonus. The first 10 people get this extra value. Sell with value, not by removing price, okay? Call to action, logic. Now, appeal to the logic. So this is the analytics, this is the numbers, this is the metrics. Guarantee, take away risk. And then future pace. This is more of an emotional call to action. Where are you going to be if you don't do this? Now, if you don't think this is right for you, that's fine. But if you believe this is the right system, then picture yourself 90 days from now what it would feel like to have these results. Now I show them. Now I kind of celebrate who's coming on board, what's next, and what they're going to miss if they don't take advantage. I welcome new folks, congratulate them, actually show them inside the product. Now, it might have been confusing because I have the word tour twice. Just to be clear, This is where you literally show them. If you have something like a membership site, a product, or something physical to show them, that's fine. If you have a done-for-you service, an intangible, where there is no user interface, it's not software or membership site, then you talk about the results and the process. You reiterate your signature solution and show them exactly what's going to happen, right? You resell the value. You just recap the offer. So again, you're getting this, this, and this. It's normally this price. Right now it's this price. Do you have any questions? You transition objections into questions that you already know. They ask the reasons and the friction why they don't buy. If folks are on the fence, you ask them. If you're on the fence, what can I do to clarify this? A lot of people think it doesn't apply to them. Ask me so you can get value. I'm here for your benefit, even if you don't sign up. Get the folks who are on the fence to speak up. Resell the value. So you really want to just say, look, again, this is exactly what you're covering. I just want to be clear. A lot of people might not be sure what is included. So don't be afraid to summarize 2 or 3 times what's included. Remind them of the alternatives. You can do it the hard way, putting all these different things together, being frustrated, being on the exact path you're on before the webinar, or you can do this program. I put this together for you. I'd love to have you on board if you think it's a good fit. You don't have to hard sell, but you still have to sell. Challenge them to take action by being a leader and inspiring them to act. Okay, your homework and next steps. You're going to build your webinar. I'm going to show you in the next video how to brand your webinar. A lot of people compliment me on how cool and different my slides or branding looks. And the funny thing is, it's a hack. Some people have asked me, they say, hey, I have 25K. Who should I spend on the designer? I say me, because I'll show you in 5 minutes. I'm just kidding. But it's very simple. I'm going to show you how to customize and brand your webinar and slides right away. So the next step is watch the next video on branding and then put together your winning webinar template. Welcome back to the Winning Webinar Formula. This is Aaron. And in this portion of the Craft Your Webinar section, what I want to talk about is how to actually create your content. Now, a lot of people struggle with it. Just takes too darn long to put together your thoughts and ideas and knowledge into a structured format, not only that you can create quickly, but really resonates with your audience and compels them to take action. So it's about taking your knowledge and putting it into a world-class format that's clear, concise, easy to create, easy to consume. There's a separate training in the Fletcher Method membership called the Content Crusher, where I go into a little bit more detail about what the Content Crusher is, how it can be used. But in short, it's a framework that allows you to create content in any format. So if you're going to write a book, I would have a Content Crusher sheet for every single chapter. If you're going to do a public speaking gig, if you're going to do a membership site or a webinar. So I want to walk through the framework for the Content Crusher and show you exactly how it's used. In case you don't know exactly how to communicate your knowledge in your webinar, this will help you get there way more quickly. This is about turning your ideas into world-class content. So you'll see whenever you have an idea, just think about it as a concept: how to cook eggs, how to run 100 meters in less than 60 seconds, how to create a lead magnet for your website, how to set up your website itself, any core topic, one topic. The difference is in a webinar, we're going to show them what to do, the steps they need to take. We're going to expose them to the process. We're going to reveal to them a clear strategy. Of course, we don't have time to go into the how. So for our membership sites or our one-on-one coaching or consulting, we're going to go way deeper. We might have a Content Crusher for every chapter, for every module. I fill out one of these for every single video in the Fletcher Method training. So in the avatar training or the webinar training, I'll fill out a Content Crusher. So not to get meta on you, but I filled out a Content Crusher for this Content Crusher for webinars training. Now, it sounds weird. Let me walk you through this real simple. So what I want to do is capture the main title. What is the topic? What's the topic I'm going to talk about? I'm just going to say how to create a lead magnet. The title might come later as I get more inspired and have an idea for a unique title. And the promise, which is really important, I want to always have a metric and a timeline. How to create a lead magnet in 10 minutes or less without hiring a designer. I always want to have in every marketing message a promise, a hook that's clearly measurable, relevant to them with a timeline. Then I go into the transformation. This is key to every part of marketing, not just your webinar itself, not just your signature solution itself, your whole business, but for every message, every ad. At the end of the day, what are we really trying to tell our customers? We're trying to tell them we could take them from their frustration to their goals and desires. So what are the top 3 frustrations with whatever topic you're talking about? Just write them down. They should come from your customers, not you. with websites, technical tech overwhelm, maybe not getting enough traffic, not getting enough leads. That might be the frustrations if you're a web designer and you're doing this. With diets, it could be eating, diet foods are too expensive, too hard to prepare, and don't taste good. So, whatever the top frustrations for this topic, you're going to write those. And then what is the goal and desire? So the goal is just delicious, fast, and cheap, right? So you're going to say, we're going to take you from here to here, here to here, here to here. It's really powerful to use this content crusher to capture your ideas. Then a model. I'm big on frameworks. You could have, a pyramid, a circle. It doesn't matter. You could draw a picture. You have to give people a visual representation to anchor off an idea. Think about something as simple as a stop sign. Everyone in the country, if not the world, knows what it is instantly. It's a visual hook, and it automatically tells everybody exactly how to behave when they see it. Think about the food pyramid, when you're a child. So a visual anchor really helps. Then we want to talk about a metaphor. A like or as, analogy, a metaphor, a picture. So if I'm talking about how to generate a lead magnet, I might say like an automated robot working around the clock, right? Now I want to give them context. So context talks about where it lives in your greater product or program. If I'm doing a webinar, or if I'm talking about lead magnets or diets, it doesn't matter if I'm just giving them information without context. So I want to zoom out and say, this is the third step in our program, in our webinar, in our course, in our seminar, in our book, right? We always want to show them where it lives and give them context. Then we want to show them the steps, what they need to do. Now you'll notice if I'm teaching content, like in this course, I go into detail. Each step might be a separate video. Like with webinars, how to craft your webinar, how to launch your funnel, how to scale your webinar. Those are the three main steps for a webinar, but they might be entirely different modules with different content crushers. But for a webinar, it's just the what, not the how. So if your signature solution has three main steps in your webinar, you're just going to tell them what they need to do, and then make it real with a story or a case study. Don't just be hypothetical. Show them proof and say, this reminds me of Janet, who came with no web traffic, no results. She was unhappy and frustrated. She did this, this, and this. Here's her results, okay? We always give people a choice. You'll notice this from the webinar outline. Do you want to do it the way you're doing it now or the much easier, streamlined way that I've taught you? And then action. What's the next step? So it doesn't matter if you're up on stage, if you're writing a book, if you're doing a webinar, if they're in a membership course. You'll notice my content generally follows this content crusher framework. Let's look at a real-life example of a content crusher here. The topic I was faced with, which is this is part of the Fletcher method training, how to generate a converting lead magnet that works really well. And I decided to call it the ultimate lead magnet because it's ultimate and it's a lead magnet. And the promise was to generate 10 times more qualified leads for $1 or less each. So there's a metric, right? There's not a timeline that doesn't really apply because they're going to have a lead magnet hopefully for a long time. But there's a clear promise to them. There's a payoff. I could say, without hiring a designer, but I think how to create a lead magnet that, how to get 10 times more leads for $1 or less does the job. Now, what are the biggest frustrations? I said they're boring, they're hard to consume, like long ebooks or video courses, and they don't advance the sale. They're a dead end. Most people that offer freebies, that's where the conversation stops. So how do we go from here to here, here to here, here to here? I have the opt-in framework. My metaphor was having a good lead magnet can be like a robot working for your business around the clock, 24/7 on autopilot. Here's the steps you need to follow. You'll notice it follows my framework. The steps you need to take, rather, and a story. Let me show you a real case study of me launching a lead magnet, getting thousands of leads for less than $1, building a business around it. It really works. The context, which I missed, that's step 5, where does it live? And the bigger process, okay? Then there's a choice, the hard way or the easy way. The next step is a register for webinar. The next step is to complete your lead magnet, right? So hopefully that gives you clarity. You'll notice that it follows the old journalistic kind of those top 5 questions. How, what, where, when, and why. What is it? Why does it matter to me? Because I'm going to go from here to here. Where does it live in my general life, in my business? Why do I care? What's the context of it? How do I do it? And then when? Right now. What should I do right now? Okay. And lastly, I want to talk about kind of where you'll use a content crusher when creating a webinar. And again, if you're already very masterful in your content and you're very clear on how to deliver, don't worry about it. You might not need a content crusher. I have a stack of blank ones in front of me right now. I filled out countless, dozens of these for this course so far. I just fill them out with a pen. I'll go to a coffee shop. I'll get away from everything and just kind of fill out one. And I can just bang out slides and content like it's nobody's business. So let me show you how to put this in the context of a webinar. It's kind of important. If I look at the Fletcher Method signature solution here, I see there's three main pieces of content: the foundation, the funnel, and the floodgates. Again, I'm not trying to short-side anybody. I can't teach somebody the whole Fletcher Method on a webinar. I can only show them what they need to do and help them get crystal clear for the first time on why they're struggling and what they need to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill out a content crusher for each of the three steps of my signature solution. It goes without saying that your webinar should be based around three core pieces of content you're going to teach, and those should echo or mirror your signature solution. If I'm more advanced, I might do a whole webinar just on something like, well, webinars or lead magnets, and I could have multiple funnels running. But for 99% of us, we want one funnel that works really well. I've never seen a business that needs multiple funnels to get up to seven figures. So let's worry about that bridge when we come to it. Let's cross that bridge when we come to it. So you'll see that I just print out a content crusher for each of the main steps because I'm going to talk about what to do. Now, if I'm teaching a course like I am now, how to get traffic with blogs or Facebook ads, I'll have a content crusher for every single step, every single course module, if not every video. So for example, in the avatar training, there's 4 different lessons on how to build your avatar. It might be 5 even. So I'm going to have 5 content crushers because I'm teaching a different idea. So to make it simple, just remember a content crusher is to communicate one topic or point. When you're marketing and you're telling people what to do, you're teaching them what they need to do, giving them context. You fill out one content crusher for each of the main big steps. And when you're showing them how with your services, your coaching, your training, your products, then you fill out a content crusher for each lesson or module. Hopefully that makes sense. And I'll tell you, the content crusher goes far beyond just webinars. Again, it's for books, public speaking gigs, any form of content, even a blog post. The best way just to get an idea out of your head and into a nice structured format with world-class communication is using a content crusher. So if you'd like, use a content crusher for the 3 main steps in your webinar. It's going to make putting your slides together super easy. Now what I'm going to do is walk you through not only the slide template, how to use it, but show you how to customize and brand your slides. So you're going to have world-class branding in just a few minutes, super cheap with stock images, and enjoy this. Let's get your webinar put together and launched so we can move on to your funnel. How to do branding like a boss. I know it sounds funny, but it's so important. A lot of people come up to me and ask me, whether they're friends, colleagues, gurus, brands, they say, how do you style your stuff? You know, I have 30 grand. I just did a launch. Can I hire your designer? And I say, I don't have a designer, nor do I spend a lot of time on it. And it freaks them out because most small businesses have really poor looking stuff. It's not consistent. It doesn't communicate any kind of confidence, and it's boring. It's full of, again, like bullet points and dry slides. It's like, ew, you just want to leave the room, like Ben Stein's science class. So how do we overcome that? You're going to freak out. I actually call this a secret. I hate to use that word because in the marketing world, everyone says secrets revealed, but this is totally a secret, and it's going to up your game it's going to up your game tenfold in terms of your delivery. You have to have great content and know your stuff, but if it looks amazing, you can't lose. You have to have both sides of the spectrum, okay? So here's how I do it. The first thing I think you should have is what I call a style guide. Actually, I don't call it that. It's the name of it. If you have a brand, a website already, a logo even, what are the colors that should be consistent, the fonts, any assets? So if you're going to hand this kind of work palette off to a designer, a graphic designer, someone that's going to do your Facebook ads or anything in between, be consistent. It matters. Don't say, oh, it's gray background with big letters. Be consistent about the font, the sizes, how you set your stuff up. And that's why I do. I'm really, even though I misspell most things that I write, I'm actually very impeccable about branding. If you go to my website or my membership sites or my webinars or anything in between, even my books, I want things to be consistent. It matters, trust me. So how do I do that? Well, once you have a style guide, you're going to say, okay, well, I'm going to make these slides. And obviously these are color-coded. Don't use these colors. These match the webinar framework that we have in place so you know where you are. Especially if it's your first webinar using this system, stick to this. But when you come to design it after you have your content together, then you want to be absolutely consistent with high-end impeccable styling. How do you do that? Well, let's just say I'm talking about frustrations. Let's use our analogy of a personal trainer. I know I use that analogy a lot, but it works. Everybody can resonate with it. So here's the deal. Let's say the top three, let's say I'm doing a webinar on how to lose 20 pounds in 30 days without giving up carbs, the busy executive's guide to rapid weight loss. And one of the frustrations people have with that is feeling like they're always starving. And this is just me riffing here. I have no idea what I'm going to say or how it's going to work, but let's just make it work. Okay, so let's just say they're starving. Now, my brand, because I have a style guide, I always use the same stuff. So let's say I have a more casual font. And again, this is in Keynote. I also have a version for you in PowerPoint. If you're one of the unfortunate souls that uses a PC, just kidding. Okay, and I'm communicating, let's just say, in a very, say my avatar's male, so I want to be kind of strong, have a strong font that I'm going to use in the whole webinar, if not in everywhere else in my brand. So I want to have really strong branding. So I simply make sure that the content itself reflects my brand, and I really know what I'm doing here. Let's put a little bit of a line border on here, and let's just say the border can be, I don't know, black. Who cares? Doesn't matter. This is for example purposes. So I'm selling to executives. I think about my avatar, my consistency of my branding, and then what I think about, instead of a slide full of a bunch of bullet points, please don't do that. A lot of people that use my webinar framework, they kind of do it. They say, oh, I want to have a picture. So they'll take a picture and put a picture up here and some bullet points. You don't have to do that. The reason this is such a powerful methodology is because it communicates an idea and the main emotional connection you want to make with the audience. So what I do is I use a site called 123RF. Very, very cool, very, very cheap, pennies per image. And if I say starving, let me make sure I'm logged in. Yeah, I'm logged in. I'm going to find an image that's going to make people really resonate. I don't think that would really do it. That might be very depressing. There's a lot of, you don't want to that would not be good. You don't want it to be sad. You don't want your images to be absolutely sad. You want to have humor, family, things that everyone resonates. You want to be diverse in your ages and races. And you want to think about your avatar. You don't want to, I don't like I don't like drawings as much. So I say this might be a good image. This might resonate with people that might, it might be, get the point across like, hey, I don't want to eat that stuff, just a little piece of bread here. This might be a bummer, so I'm starving. So let's just say this is the image I want to use. I'm going to download the image, and I'm going to use the three credit versions, 5.59 inches. You don't have to have huge images. Guess what? I'm going to edit the image. I'm going to copy the image. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is go back to my deal. I'm going to paste the image, which anybody can do. I'm going to put it in the back behind the banner, obviously. I'm going to make sure that the shape of the image roughly matches, obviously, my slide shape. I don't want to have it skewed. So I'm going to make sure I fill the whole background. It doesn't communicate the point. And if you don't, you could, if you're advanced, do it however you want. But if you want to run a highly effective webinar for the first time, just do this. So say, I'm tired of starving. Now, imagine, look how easy that was, how fast it was. I could even do some shadows if I want to, if I want to get jiggy with it and go crazy. I could put a shadow down here and really kind of make it look better. I can do a curved shadow. It doesn't matter. I can do whatever I want. I like to do it like that. Curved shadow, if the thing catches up with me. And I'll come down here and go, boom. It looks pretty good. See how good that looks? It looks pretty darn good. Now, it's the main point, and now I'm going to talk briefly. I'm going to say one of the main frustrations people have is they feel like they're starving. They feel like the only way to lose weight is to sacrifice all day long, where you can't focus on work. You don't have energy to do much. Your work suffers, your workout suffers because you feel like you're absolutely starving. Another frustration would be this one. Another frustration would be that one. So you know the format of the webinar, and I'm doing one kind of emotional image, a high quality image, a consistent image. I don't like the cheesy cartoons. I was looking at one of our members recently who did a really cool branding website here. Let me turn down the volume if I can. And just follow the format. It looks so nice, so consistent. It follows their brand and the product they're selling, how to get press and kind of exposure online. But look at, when you're I don't care what anybody says, when you're watching high quality content that matches your branding, that has emotional connections with the audience, it's just a way more effective way to do it. Actually, affection's not bad either if you have a puppy like I just saw. But that's how you create $1 million brand for a few dollars in a few minutes, and make sure that obviously the content has to be good, but that's how you create a webinar where the presentation itself is going to be world class.